Hi, my name is Brandt. I'm an instructor here at Jupiter Hills. I'm currently standing on the back side of the North Range on our practice green. A few things that we're going to talk about today are just some key characteristics and fundamentals that I like to see with all my players in putting. I think too many times that we are setting ourselves up for a poor stroke or a poor putt, and I think it's very crucial that we begin to practice and replicate a good setup every time over the golf ball, which is only going to increase our chances of success in making more putts around the golf course. First thing that we look at is eye position. As we've all heard that we want our eyes directly over the golf ball, I either like it over the golf ball or I like it just inside or just behind the golf ball, more so over the face of the putter, because I think that from this position here, when we're just slightly inside and slightly behind, that I can see my target line and my intended line to the hole a little bit easier. Second thing that we're going to look at is if the putting stroke is a very little movement and a small motion, well, what's moving the golf club? Well, that's going to be my arms and shoulders, right? It's going to be this rocking motion right here. So if I know that my arms and shoulders are the two body parts moving the golf club, then it's very crucial that as we get in our alignment, that I have my shoulders square to my target line. What I see too often is people getting too open and now the putter's working too far left and across. Maybe people get a little bit deep and behind, they get tilted and they get closed and they start working the putter too far out. We want a square setup. If I'm facing this way and I'm 50-50 on my feet here, I'm simply just going to hinge over the golf ball in balance, and I'm going to have square shoulders in relation to my target line. Next thing that we're going to look at is that I want to have a straight line between this shaft and my forearms. I want this to be one universal straight line. What we don't want is creating two different planes, where I see guys and girls and they get set here, maybe a little bit heel biased, and now we're setting two different planes. Well, it's very difficult to move in a forward to back motion. So as we get our eyes in a good position, we get our shoulders square to the target, I'm going to make sure that this shaft and my forearms are on a straight line together. Next thing in the setup and the posture that we're going to pay attention to is, now that we're aligned correctly to the hole, is that I want to make sure I'm in balance, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to give myself a little bit of room away from this golf ball, and enough room that I can appropriately make this pendulum motion with my arms and shoulders. So if I can get my shoulders, hands, and toes all in a straight line, from this position here, I know that my arms are more or less going to be hanging fairly straight down, and that whenever I do rock back and forth, that I'm going to have very little horizontal motion throughout the swing. It's just going to be a very back to forth motion. After we've established good posture and good setup, the next thing I want to look at is making sure that the ball is in the middle of the face of the putter. And you'd be surprised that from your vantage point up above when you're looking down, most people think that it's in the center, but too often I see the ball is out here on the toe. So we had to find reference points. There is a reference point on every single putter. For Scotty Cameron, you can see there's this tick mark here on the inside of the hosel, this little indention right here. That's going to be on a lot of your traditional style putters. So if I can get this golf ball in the middle of the face, what you'll notice as I draw these lines is that the inside of that golf ball and that little tick mark right there just in front of the hosel, those line up pretty perfectly. So from your vantage point up above, you can use that as a reference. So just to show you another example, this is a ping mallet putter here, is that if I set this in the middle of the face, you can also see a reference point on the inside of that black insert, the alignment there. So there's always going to be a reference point that we can use to get ourselves setting up into the middle of the face of the putter. I see too often people are setting up either toe biased or they set up heel biased, and now they have to overwork throughout the swing in order to compensate for their poor alignment from the get-go. So now that we're in good alignment and good posture, getting the ball in the middle of the face, Now, the most important thing, I think, across the board is speed control. And if you take one thing away from this video today, always remember that speed comes from gravity. What I mean by that is, if we're always trying to find a more consistent golf game, it would make sense to me that we rely on something that's a constant. Gravity is a constant. Always has been, always will be. So if I can rely on gravity, I can produce a fairly consistent putting stroke. And how I do that is adjust the length of my stroke in relation to my intended distance or my intended speed. I'm going to let the putter fall into the golf ball using the weight and the momentum of this putter, like a pendulum, right? And as I'm trying to adjust for more distance, I'm going to take this putter back farther, and I'm going to let it fall into the golf ball. I see too often guys and girls are trying to manipulate speeds and manipulate distance with applying a force, and that's their hands. As they get here and they realize maybe they didn't take it back far enough, now we have to play catch up. If I want to go farther, I'm simply going to take the putter back farther and I'm going to let it fall into the golf ball. This is called dead weighting the club. I'm not going to take it back a little bit and then try to apply a force and scoot the ball towards the target. I'm simply going to adjust the length of my backswing in relation to how hard I want the club to fall in the golf ball. As you are adjusting your speed, adjust the distance of the stroke. If you guys have any more questions, please come and see us at the Learning Center. Dell and I are out here all the time, happy to work with you and lower your golf scores. Thank you.